All right, guys, the blog just went live and we now have our first look at Super Skrull's kit. It looks bonkers. Let's go ahead and dive into that and expose this character's strengths and weaknesses. All right, let's start this off light before we get into the biblical text. That's right, it's going to be rough reading his kit because it's a long one. Tags and speed. So, tags, villain, cosmic wild brawler. He does not have a Fantastic Four tag, nothing associated there. I don't think any of the Dark Dimension characters ever did, except for now Ultron with Masters of Evil. Even Apocalypse, I don't think he has that Horseman tag. So, very familiar route we're going with here. But we do know his speed. Now, we haven't been told the speed of Apocalypse until, like, he was here. So this is kind of big. Because now that we look at his kit, we look at the characters in game that we currently have, we can come up with some nightmare comps to use him on defense or some kind of awesome comps to use him with on offense. 124. That is not the fastest we've seen, and it's not the slowest we've seen, okay? Apocalypse comes in at 122. He gets speed up by Red Hulk. We're definitely going to have some ways we can speed up the Super Skrull, right? Like we have Kang now. We have Emma who can slow the enemy team, stuff like that. So this is a very comfortable speed for a character. And with the rest of his kit, it's going to get pretty brutal. Let's go look at the new mechanic he's bringing to the game, Expose. So Expose, it's a new status effect that can be inflicted upon enemy characters. It's a neutral effect, treated as neither positive nor negative. So it's not a buff, it's not a debuff. It is not turn-based. So it's not turn-based in the sense that, you know, when you have one stack of defense up, after you get a turn, that drops off. That's not the case. It will remain on the character until it is either cleared or that character is dead, I suppose. So yeah, consider it like revive or charged. Exposed has no inherent effect, so it doesn't actually do anything, but characters will interact with exposed enemies. For instance, Super Skrull will have abilities that will react to the characters inflicted with Exposed. Exposed can only be cleared by abilities that specifically mention Expose. I don't think they're going to retroactively add this. It's not like Jessica Jones is now going to clear Exposed on her special. They're just laying the groundwork for when they release new characters that can get rid of Exposed. So, you know, when we had Trauma, then that became like how bad would it be if they introduced a character that said, can cleanse trauma? You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't make much sense. Two characters are currently planned to have abilities with Exposed, Super Skrull being one of them, and the second to be announced in the near future. So maybe next patch, we'll be seeing the first character with an Exposed. I wonder if this is going to be one of the raid answers for Tech or Mystic. You can put an Exposed out on an enemy, and whenever that enemy does X, you revive with full life and speed burn cooldowns. Who knows what it might be, right? Multiple characters can benefit from an enemy inflicted with Exposed. So this would basically imply that once both of these characters are in the game, if you have Super Skrull and this unnamed character on the same team, and there's an enemy with Exposed, both of the interactions that Super Skrull and the other character have with an exposed enemy will apply simultaneously. So there's that. All right. It's an interesting concept. It's what I would consider vulnerable to be, right? But it's just a different version of vulnerable, not attached to an ISO system. That's how I look at it. All right, now let's go look at his actual kit. Let's start with the basic. Okay, so the basic. Let's get our reading skills tested. Skrull Barrage. If the primary target has Exposed, clear all barrier on the primary target. Attack primary target for 400% piercing damage. Chain, at least it's not a rebound chain. 3 additional targets for 340% piercing. Flip 3 positive effects into negative effects. Gain defense up for 2 turns and safeguard for 2 turns. Bury yourself for 10% of his max health. Again, this is a basic, guys. If this character spawned with 2 or more villain allies, this attack ignores defense up. If this character spawned with or has 2 or more hero allies, apply Disrupted to each target. This attack can chain to stealth targets. Counterattacks break this chain. This attack gains 200% extra focus and is unavoidable. And we also know his ISO 8, which I think is awesome. Thank you, Archangel, for providing that to us. 300% piercing instead of 400% piercing, and it's single target. It doesn't chain. And it doesn't apply the defense up and the safeguard. But everything else, ignoring the defense up, applying Disrupted, the barrier, the clearing the barrier on the enemy, like this is a crazy basic attack, very heavy striker vibes coming in, right? And the way it's worded with if this character spawned with or has 2 or more villain, and the same with the hero, this is worded very carefully, right? So if you spawn in with, say, three villain Darkhold members and Quicksilver, but Quicksilver drops below a certain life, and now Quicksilver might be a villain. My point is, if you come in with somebody that summons, that'll count as a hero, right? So the Scarlet Witch counts as a healer. I think Ultron bots count as villains. So there's going to be some interesting teams we can make around Super Skrull, but I kind of assume most teams are just going to be very simply Super Skrull with 2 heroes and 2 villains, as we're going to see from the next part of his kit, and that'll be the special. Let's go ahead and move on over to the special now. So the special, Bending Flames. It's going to be a turn 1 ability and low cost, 3 out of 3. Attack the primary target for 450% damage and apply an expose. This is where you are getting the expose on the enemy. It's only on one enemy, and that's very important. That's very crucial, because what expose does, besides just clearing barrier, is going to get nutty. If this character spawned with 2 or more hero allies, also apply ability block to the primary target. And attack primary and adjacent targets for 350% piercing, 350% damage. Reduce speed bar by 20%. That's not part of the hero part. This is part of the villain part. If this character spawned with or has 2 or more villain allies, reduce speed bar for all targets by an additional 40%. That is 60% turn meter rewind plus ability block on the main target, but 60% to everyone that was hit adjacent. This is a bonkers turn meter rewind. Huge damage, turn 1 ability, and getting the exposed out there. It'll clear stealth, and then he gains a plethora of positive effects. Defense up for 2 turns, offense up for 2 turns, deflect, 3 deflects, 2 immunities. He gains stealth. This attack gains 500% extra focus, cannot be blocked, dodged, or counterattacked. Luckily, it doesn't say is unavoidable. That's I think important. But this is very important, the +2 offense up, because his ultimate is a turn 3 ability. We're going to talk about that in a second. But just for this special, I can't get over how overpowered 60% turn meter rewind is. That's gigantic. So you're definitely going to want to have him with 2 villains. Also playing ability block for 2 turns, you definitely want to have 2 heroes. Making sure you have 2 heroes and 2 villains for this guy to feed off of, it seems very important. All right, the ultimate. At least this is not a book. Apply trauma for 2 turns to the primary target. Flip defense up on all enemies. Attack all enemies for 700% piercing damage. That is so much damage, and him being the Dark Dimension character, you know he's going to have big stats. He's going to apply heal block for 3 turns and offense down for 2 turns to all those enemies. If this character spawned with 2 or more villain allies, his attack deals an additional 300% piercing. So that's 1,000% piercing damage on what you have to assume is going to be a crazy statted character. If this character spawned with 2 or more hero allies, apply trauma for 2 turns to all enemies instead of single target. Again, you're going to want him with 2 heroes, 2 villains. Maybe we'll find a way to sub in characters that summon other characters so we can have 3 villains or 3 heroes, or whatever the case may be. Bury yourself and all allies for 30% of this character's max health. That's huge barrier. This attack gains 1,000% extra focus, is unavoidable, and cannot be blocked or counterattacked. This is an absolutely devastating ability. Thank God it comes on turn 3. So turn 1, he becomes 4, turn 2 at 5, and then turn 3 is when he can actually use this, you know, barring any kind of energy feed you may put into Super Skrull. All right, now, sorry about that jarring transition. I just had to update the slide. I had wrong information. So, the passive, the fantastic one. The first time this character drops below 50% health, he will clear all negative effects from this character, heal self for 50% of this character's max health, and gain stealth. While this character has stealth, allies gain 20% damage reduction. When an enemy gains a positive effect, or when this character or ally gains a negative effect, heal self for 50% of this character's max health. Plus, fill this character's speed bar by 10%. Sorry, I said 50. That's a 5%. That'd be way overpowered. So this is kind of a crazy thing, right? So he's got that kind of health trigger at 50% life. He's going to get all his health back. He's going to gain stealth at that point as well. When he's in stealth, his allies are taking less damage. And whenever the enemy team gets a positive effect or his team gets a negative effect, he gets health plus speed bar. This is going to make him incredibly hard to take care of. But I want you to notice something very important. Nowhere in his kit is he spawning with safeguard, immunity, all that defense up stuff, and he comes with 124 speed, no crazy speed up or speed bar mechanics on it. I think this is a truly well-balanced, Very powerful character. Worthy of Dark Dimension, not going to be game breaking like the current Apocalypse will be in the long run based on all the changes they had to do. I also think this is going to be fine for the Krakens. They're not going to be complaining and making him get crazy buffed because they're still going to have about 6 months exclusivity, right? Like someone like me, I won't be seeing this character for 8 to 12 months. Others might see him the day Dark Dimension 6 goes live because they are giving out that Gear Tier 18 in the store. I know somebody who already has 6 characters Gear Tier 18. So I think the Krakens will be happy with this, even though he won't be game shattering, although I do think he will still be game defining. Let's continue on with the passive. Lower armor for all enemies by 25%, gain 50% max health, allies gain 25% max health, so he's doing that to everybody. Love seeing that. And here's the cool part. Gain 10% damage and focus, plus 10% for each hero ally up to a maximum of 50% life. Immediately I thought about Fury, okay? So Fury is one hero character, but he summons in 3 more hero characters. That's 40% right there. Plus you're activating all of Super Skrull's ability stuff when he needs heroes. And then you can have 3 villains or whatever the case may be. But he also has armor and resistance by 10% for each villain ally. So the same kind of thing with Ultron bots. He can get a bunch of armor and resistance. So I think this is a really, really cool kit design. Now here's where the expose really comes in. So it's just on the basic expose, getting rid of barrier, that's fine and everything, but here's where the expose gets a little crazy. Enemies with expose cannot gain safeguard, deflect, or evade. This does not prevent prolonging the duration of effects already on the target. So if a target already has safeguard, deflect, and evades, and they find a way to extend that, whether it be from some kind of crucible room or some kind of new character kit we're not used to yet, they can still maintain those buffs. Here's the truly crazy part. Like not being able to gain safeguard, deflect, evade, that's really big. But this next part is crazy. So, when an exposed enemy is attacked, Super Skrull attacks all enemies for 5% of his max HP, and Super Skrull barriers himself for 5% of his max health. This is crazy, okay? We know Dark Dimension characters. We know what kind of health will they come with. The last Dark Dimension characters and Apocalypse, who's kind of like a Dark Dimension character, they came with the highest health in the game by a big margin. And we see that he's getting 50% extra health from his passive. And it's not just when he attacks an exposed target. When anything attacks an exposed enemy. I don't know if this counts mind control. I don't know. But I do suspect it might. And we know that it counts all of our allies. So again, with Fury, summon in 3 characters who are just shooting pea shooters off like crazy. If they're hitting a tank that you put expose on, say you put, you're fighting Gamma, and you put that expose on the Green Hulk, and then you have Fury minions just popping off the Gamma, well, sure, they're tickling him, but then Super Skrull is coming in and just annihilating people for 5% of his max health. He's gonna have huge health pool. This is so strong, but I'm still excited about this character because he doesn't seem to be the stupid broken defensive type that Apocalypse now is. So at 124 speed, he can be stunned. He doesn't spawn with safeguard and immunity, so he can put ability blocked. He doesn't have any anti-ability block stuff like Dormammu has. This seems like a very, very good character, and it makes sense. I don't think Dark Dimension 6 will be gated as heavily as Apocalypse was, so maybe we're going to be getting faster Dark Dimensions. I don't know. I'm excited about this character. What do you guys think about this character? Let me know in the comment sections below. Are you excited for Super Skrull? It's hard to be excited for the character Super Skrull, but are you excited for this kit? This looks like this could be a lot of fun. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know.
That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Stay happy, healthy, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.